How's everyone doing? Today I'll be doing a movie review on The Mimic, which is a 2017 South Korean horror film. And if you've seen The Mimic, definitely let me know what you think of it. And this is directed by Jung-ah, who also directed a really good thriller called Hide and Seek that I would definitely recommend. And The Mimic stars as the two adult leads, Park Hyuk-kwon from Taxi Driver and Jung-ah from Tale of Two Sisters, two also amazing films that I would highly recommend. And The Mimic is inspired by a urban myth story about the Jang-san tiger, which is from Mount Jang, which is in Busan, and it's basically about this white tiger who lives in the mountains, in the woods, and can mimic the voice of a crying woman, and it lures people into the woods, and then the tiger essentially kills the person and steals its soul. So it's all based upon that urban legend. And the introductory scene is really strong. It kind of sets the whole tone for the film. And the movie has a really washed out hue, lots of grays and blacks, and just kind of dingy color palette, which also reflects the bleak tone of the film. And The Mimic is about this family, a husband and a wife and a young daughter, and then their sick mother. They don't say it directly in the film, but you can tell by the way she's acting. She has a form of dementia or Alzheimer's. She just kind of sits around, doesn't really remember things. She refers to the granddaughter in here as her sister. She's just kind of out of it. They show flashbacks as well. And the family also has a tragedy that they're still dealing with. 5 years ago, they lost their young son, and that kind of plays a pivotal role in the story. So they take their sick mother out of this facility where they're seeing this doctor, and the doctor says that, that she thinks that the mother should stay there, but they want to bring the mother to her hometown that she grew up in, because if you bring people with dementia and Alzheimer's to where they grew up and kind of show them things from when they were younger, it's supposed to spark memories. So that's what they're hoping to do. So they bring her to Mount Jang, which is where the grandmother is from. So they start living there in this house that they have, and early on living there, that they come across these two kids who are looking for their lost dog, and that kind of sets the ball into motion for the film and everything that happens. So the kids couldn't find their dog, but one of the kids hears something in the woods towards this cave, and that's where this secret evil is essentially staying, which is the tiger of Mount Jang. And again, it can mimic the voices of not just the dead, but the living. And then the one little girl goes looking for her brother in the cave area, and then you hear the kids screaming, so the two adults go looking for them and find them in the cave. And then they call the police because they find something in there, and then during that whole time period, the adult mother ends up seeing this little girl right here in these really dingy, dirty clothes. She's got dirt all over her, and she tells the police about the little girl, and the police can't find the little girl. And then later they just go back home, and then suddenly the little girl is at their doorstep and knocking on the door. And they let the little girl in, and they say, we'll keep her overnight and bring her to the police station in the morning. And at first the little girl doesn't say anything, and then suddenly she starts talking, but she's essentially mimicking the voice of their little daughter. The daughter is slightly taller and a little bit older than the little girl right here. And it's funny because, she says that she has the same name as her daughter too. So there's all these, red flags popping up. Things aren't quite as they seem. There's definitely an underlying tension all throughout the film that you can just feel building. And this film is just oozing with atmosphere and a great score here too, and sound editing, which is very pivotal to this as well, with all the different, mimicking of the voices that plays into it big time. So once the little girl is at the house, she ends up staying there for a little bit longer, and suddenly things start happening that are a little bit odd, and they realize maybe things aren't quite as they seem, and that's where things take off from there. And then once they're at the cave and they're there with the police, that gives you a little bit more backstory as the police talk about different cases there. There's all these different cases of missing persons involved with the cave, which definitely gives you a real sense of foreboding. And I will say, when I was watching this, I was loving the film. It kind of reminded me of a mixture of the film The Babadook meets The Wailing. There's different elements of both of those films in here. And when I was watching, I was thinking, this is an awesome film. It's going to be a classic. I love it. And then it just kind of fell off at the final climax, and it could have had the potential to be an all-time classic. It's still a really good film that I would highly recommend watching, but I just feel like it was kind of a missed opportunity. There were some questions left unanswered, especially with certain characters. They introduced a blind woman, and they didn't really kind of delve too much into it, and I would have liked a little bit more backstory too on the actual Mount Jang tiger, and then there's other characters too. There's all this stuff that just left you wanting more with, again, the climax, different characters, different plot points. So again, all this build up, all this lead up, the whole film was just so good, so strong, and it didn't rely on jump scares. There's a couple, but it's worth it. Most American mainstream horror movies, they're way too reliant on jump scares, and that wasn't the case here. It's more about the atmosphere and the build-up. There's a lot of dramatic pacing, but I think it works really well for this film. It's really the payoff that is lackluster. I think the writing was excellent up until that point. You can tell that the writer put a lot of thought into it, especially with the whole mythology of the Mount Jang tiger, and I really like the concept here too. But yeah, that ending, it was just a big missed opportunity, and that's my major criticism with this film. I loved pretty much everything else about it. If there was reworked just a little bit, this could be an all-time classic Asian horror film, or horror film in general. I definitely think it's still worth checking out. Really creepy, atmospheric, great acting across the board from the supporting cast, the police, the two lead main actors here, the adults, and the young child actress right there. She was really good too. I noticed that in a lot of, especially Asian horror films, that the child actors do a really good job, and that was definitely the case here. The driving force. It's kind of subdued, but there's that kind of like air of creepiness about her performance. You're not really sure if you can trust her or not. And there were some super creepy scenes in here. It's just a shame that the ending kind of brought it down. And then the cave itself is also really creepy. You know, when you go into the woods, it's kind of secluded, and then the cave itself, you have that, you know, darkness. There's so many scenes where I was expecting a jump scare, where people are, you know, putting their face into the opening of the cave. I was expecting for sure a big jump scare. And again, the way that they handle the couple jump scares that there are, and then the kind of that build up and that tension, suspense just underlying, just really works well. The cave again was also really intricate and unique and creepy, and you know, you feel secluded, and that sense of isolation and claustrophobia really work well. And I like how they delve into, again, the mythology of the Mount Jang tiger, Jang-san tiger, where they talk about how it uses your emotions against you, you know, feeling of anger, guilt, loneliness, all that kind of stuff. And I love all of the mythology for it. I think that's another really big selling point here, and it's kind of cool that it was based on a real urban legend. You know, right from the beginning, the tone is set. It's very brooding, foreboding. I loved it. That introductory scene, the whole build-up, it just really works well, the pacing. And again, I just wish that the ending was a little bit better. Another slight criticism I have about the movie is the use of CG. I like what they're doing with certain elements, with windows and doors and things like that. I thought that was really interesting, but there's a couple scenes that have some CG effects that just kind of didn't work. I like what they were trying to do, but again, that's just a minor criticism because it was utilized in a trivial manner. There's no real gore here, and like I said, there's only a couple of jump scares. This is a film that relies on atmosphere and storytelling, and it does both very well. Overall, I give The Mimic a 7.5 out of 10. Still a really strong film, just a bit of a missed opportunity with the ending. But I would definitely recommend checking it out though. And if you've seen The Mimic, definitely let me know what you think of it. Leave me a comment or video response down below. Hope everyone's doing well. Take care.